"Excuse me, that's my seat. You must be mistaken." The woman's voice sliced through the quiet hum of first class like a knife. Marcus Washington looked up slowly. He smiled faintly. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but this is seat 1A. She folded her arms, her expensive pearl bracelet clinking against her wrist. "And I said it's mine. I paid good money for it. You can't just take someone's seat." A few passengers nearby turned their heads. Marcus kept his tone even. "I didn't take anything, ma'am." "Maybe check your ticket again?" She scoffed, snatching her ticket from her designer handbag. "Seat 1A, now move." Marcus leaned forward just slightly. "That says 10A, he said softly. The woman blinked, then glanced back down. The row number was clear. 10A. Her cheeks reddened instantly. But instead of apologizing, she doubled down. "Well, even so, you shouldn't be up here. I mean, look at you. Clearly there's been some mistake. The airline doesn't just let anyone sit in first class." Her words carried across the cabin. Marcus felt the weight of every curious stare. Still, he didn't flinch. "Ma'am," he said, voice calm, "I have every right to be here." The flight attendant appeared, blonde hair perfectly pinned, smile tight. "Is there a problem?" she asked, glancing at the woman first, not at Marcus. "Yes," the woman exclaimed, pointing. "This man is in my seat. I've flown this airline for years, and I know how this works." The attendant's smile faded into suspicion. "Sir, may I see your boarding pass?" Marcus handed it over without hesitation. She scanned it, lips tightening slightly as she checked the screen. "Seat 1A, that's correct," she murmured. The woman frowned. "Then maybe he switched with someone. Either way, he doesn't belong here." Marcus arched a brow. "Doesn't belong?" The woman shifted, realizing her words sounded harsher than intended. But she didn't back down. "You know what I mean? This section is for premium passengers." The attendant nodded nervously, sensing tension. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step aside while we confirm the issue." Marcus exhaled slowly. "You've confirmed it already." But before he could say more, another flight attendant, an older man with a badge that read David, lead attendant, approached. "Is there an issue here?" The blonde spoke quickly. "We might have a seating conflict, but I think we can handle—" "No, you can't," the woman interrupted. "I feel unsafe." He's being confrontational. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Unsafe? I haven't raised my voice." David stepped forward. "Sir, please, we just want to make sure everything is in order." "Everything is in order," Marcus said firmly. But his calmness only seemed to make them more uncomfortable. A uniformed security officer approached from the jet bridge. "Is there a problem?" he asked. The woman crossed her arms, satisfied. "Yes, officer. This man refuses to leave my seat." The officer turned to Marcus. "Sir, can I see your ID and ticket?" Marcus held out both. The officer checked them, then looked confused. "It's correct." The woman frowned. "Then how—" Marcus stood, his tall frame suddenly commanding the aisle. "Let me save you the trouble," he said, reaching into his pocket for another card, a sleek, metal one embossed with a logo. He held it out, and David squinted. "Sir, what is this?" Marcus smiled faintly. "That's my company card. I'm Marcus Washington, CEO of Meridian Air." The cabin went still. The woman's mouth opened, then shut. The attendants froze, eyes wide. Even the officer's posture straightened instantly. Marcus continued, voice steady but cold. "The seat you're arguing about? I designed it. Every detail, every inch of this cabin went through my desk." David swallowed hard. "Mr. Washington, Marcus didn't move. "You assumed, didn't you?" "You all did." The woman took a small step back. I didn't mean to—" "Didn't mean to what?" he asked quietly. "Assume a black man couldn't afford to be in first class? Or assume I must have snuck my way up here?" Her face burned red. "No, that's not—" He cut her off gently with a slight shake of his head. "Save it." Passengers were recording now, phones discreetly tilted toward the scene. The captain's voice came over the intercom, announcing a brief delay, but no one was listening. The blonde attendant's voice trembled. "Mr. Washington, I sincerely apologize. This was a misunderstanding." Marcus nodded. "Yes, a misunderstanding that happens far too often." He sat back down in 1A, eyes steady on the woman who'd caused it all. "You can go ahead and take 10A now." She didn't move. He tilted his head slightly. "Or would you prefer to wait for the apology you owe me first?" The silence was deafening. The woman swallowed hard, then finally whispered, "I'm sorry." Marcus nodded once. Apology accepted. "But next time, try leading with respect instead of assumptions." The officer cleared his throat awkwardly. "Everything good here, sir?" Marcus smiled faintly. "For now." He placed his phone on the tray table. It buzzed, a message from his assistant. "Ready for takeoff?" "The board is watching the live feed already." Marcus exhaled, of course. Someone had filmed it. Again. He turned his phone face down and looked out the window. The engines roared to life, the runway stretching endlessly ahead. But he knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The moment the plane landed, that video would hit every platform, and by morning, his company's name would be trending. He wasn't worried, though. This time, he wasn't the one who needed to hide. He smiled faintly, just enough for the reflection in the window to catch it. "Let's see what the world does with this one," he whispered. The woman sat stiffly behind him, eyes darting nervously between her phone and the man she had just humiliated. And somewhere in the back of the plane, a teenage girl whispered to her friend, "He owns the airline? Wait till TikTok hears about this." Marcus closed his eyes as the plane lifted off. The hum of the engines filled the silence that no one dared break. He didn't need to raise his voice. The truth was already louder than anything he could say. But what would he do once the video went viral? Would he quietly forgive the crew, or make an example out of them, once and for all? When a lesson comes at 30,000 feet, everyone feels the turbulence. Quick question for you. What would you have done if you were Marcus? Stayed calm like him, or called them out in front of everyone right then and there? Comment your thoughts below. The plane touched down in Atlanta just as dawn broke over the horizon. The seatbelt sign flicked off, and passengers began standing, stretching, pretending they hadn't just witnessed something extraordinary. But the tension in the air still lingered. Every whisper, every sideways glance, it all pointed to the man in seat 1A. Marcus Washington didn't move. He sat quietly, hands clasped, waiting for the rest to file out. Behind him, the woman who had accused him, Karen Whitmore, sat frozen, her phone clutched in her trembling hand. She'd been scrolling through social media during the descent. The video was already everywhere. Over 2 million views, thousands of comments. So when 1A was trending, Marcus could hear her faint gasp when she realized what the world was saying about her. But he didn't gloat. He didn't even look back. He simply stood, straightened his jacket, and waited for the aisle to clear. "Mr. Washington?" The purser, David, approached nervously. "Sir, the captain would like a word before you disembark." Marcus nodded. I expected he would. The cockpit door was open, and the captain, a man in his late 50s with gray at his temples, stood waiting, hat in hand. "Mr. Washington," he said, his tone tight with respect, "I want to personally apologize for what happened on my aircraft. My crew, they made a terrible mistake." Marcus's gaze was steady. "No, Captain. They didn't make a mistake. They made a decision." The captain blinked, unsure how to respond. Marcus continued, his voice low but firm. "A mistake happens once. A decision happens every day. When people choose who they think deserves respect and who doesn't." The captain nodded slowly. "You're right, and I assure you this won't go unaddressed." Marcus gave a curt smile. "Oh, I know it won't." He stepped out of the plane, greeted immediately by 2 men in black suits. They weren't security. They were executives from Meridian Air's corporate office, summoned by Marcus's assistant before the flight even landed. "Sir," one of them said quietly, "the video's gone viral. News outlets are already reaching out. How do you want to handle it?" Marcus adjusted his cufflinks. "Schedule a press conference. Today." "Understood." "And have HR pull the names of every employee involved, the attendants, the gate agent, and the pilot. I want their files on my desk within the hour." The men exchanged nervous looks but nodded. As Marcus walked through the terminal, travelers turned to stare. Some whispered, others raised their phones. For the first time, his name wasn't being whispered in boardrooms or printed on business journals. It was being spoken by ordinary people, the very ones his company served. And that, he thought, might finally make a difference. By noon, the story had reached every major outlet. News anchors replayed the footage on loop, a white woman shouting, "You can't sit here!" followed by Marcus calmly revealing his CEO badge. Talk shows debated it. Hashtags flooded Twitter. Some called it inspiring. Others called it a wake-up call. At the center of it all, Marcus remained silent, until that evening, when he walked onto the stage of Meridian Air's press room. Cameras flashed, microphones lined the podium, and reporters leaned forward, ready. He spoke without notes. "What happened on Flight 227 wasn't just about one rude passenger," he began. "It was about a system that makes people decide who belongs and who doesn't, before a single word is spoken." He paused, scanning the crowd. "I've built this company from the ground up. I've fought to make air travel accessible, safe, and welcoming. But today, I realized something. Even in a company with my name on every wall, bias can still find a seat in first class." The room was silent. Cameras clicked. "So here's what we're going to do. Effective immediately, every Meridian Air employee, from flight crew to executive board, will undergo mandatory diversity and empathy training. And for the next 6 months, I'll personally be attending every session." Reporters began scribbling furiously. "But it doesn't stop there," he continued. "We're creating a community fund to support underrepresented students pursuing aviation careers. Because the best way to fix a broken system is to rebuild it from within." Someone called out, "Mr. Washington, will the employees involved face termination?" Marcus didn't hesitate. "No," he said, "because punishment doesn't teach. Accountability does." He stepped away from the podium as the crowd erupted with questions. But his decision had already been made. 2 days later, he received an unexpected visitor. Karen Whitmore stood in the lobby of Meridian headquarters, her face pale, her eyes red. "Mr. Washington," she said quietly, "I came to apologize properly." He regarded her silently. "I've lost my job," she continued. "My company dropped me after the video. My friends stopped calling. I just wanted to say, I never meant to—" "To what?" Marcus asked. "Expose who you really are?" Her lip trembled. "I was wrong," he sighed. "You were human, and humans make choices. You can't erase what you did, but you can decide what kind of person you'll be from now on." She nodded, tears forming. "I wish I could take it back." Marcus shook his head slowly. "Don't. Learn from it. Then make sure no one around you ever forgets it." He turned to walk away, but stopped. "You know," he added, "that seat you tried to take wasn't special because it was in first class. It was special because of how you acted when you thought someone didn't deserve it. Maybe that's the real lesson here." Karen said nothing. She just stood there, small and broken, as the man she'd tried to humiliate walked past her with quiet grace. A week later, Marcus sat on his balcony overlooking the city skyline. The world had already moved on, but he hadn't. His inbox overflowed with letters, some from people thanking him for handling the situation with dignity, others from flight crews confessing their own biases. He read one that struck him the most. It came from a young boy in Detroit. "Dear Mr. Washington," it read, "my mom showed me your video. She said you proved that staying calm can be powerful. I want to be like you when I grow up." Marcus smiled faintly. That one line, that one letter, made it all worth it. He closed his laptop and looked out over the glowing horizon. Sometimes, he thought, power isn't in how loud you speak, but in how deeply your silence makes others listen. Life lesson. Power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it whispers, through composure, through truth, through grace. Real strength isn't about proving you're right. It's about staying true to who you are when everyone else gets it wrong. Quick question for you. If you were in Marcus's position, would you have stayed calm or demanded immediate justice on that plane? Drop your answer in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring real-life stories that prove dignity always wins.